Temp check. What kind of summer are we having this year? A family road trip summer? A beach bum summer? Or a wake me up when the sun sets summer? With Instacart, choose your own adventure and skip the shopping side quests. Where available, you can get ice cream delivered to your hotel, sunscreen to the pool, or cold brew to your bed. Well, door, in as fast as 30 minutes. Wherever you find yourself this summer, you can get the goods. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Edward, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Livy, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, Isaac, and Karoon. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group, where we will be holding a 70s style lock-in at this public television station. It's going to get weird.
Show up. You better be there.
Yeah. Lock in for the Lord, nerds. Jules, I came loaded to this episode.
Oh.
That sounds like I'm drunk. I'm not drunk.
That was the wrong time to pause.
Todd's the new Mikey. Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin, Todd. And with us today, we have
Julian Fernandez.
Yay.
Welcome back
to another Horror Virgin. We appreciate you jumping on with us today.
Thank you guys for having me on.
To discuss Late Night with the Devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did strategically pick this because as I parted ways with Jules the other night and knew that they were going to drive like 6 hours to get home in the morning and would have very little time to watch a movie, I was like, perhaps we choose a movie that is only 90 minutes that I know you've already seen. And let's have that be the episode. Yes.
93 minutes, baby. Also, while you were setting up that story, I was hearing the pan flute solo from Titanic play in my head for no reason.
I can't whistle. I was about to whistle it and I can't do it. But you know what? We all have our shortcomings.
It was all about parting ways in the night and playing. It was great.
Here, take this necklace. You can't fit on this door. Yeah.
I can't wait till that billionaire kills himself trying to get down to us.
Oh.
So let's talk about this movie because I have some thoughts and feelings about it. Ultimately, though, I think I dug it. When did you guys first see it?
Today. I had waited because I knew we would do it for the show. And I was actually really curious to see how you felt about this because I kind of knew what this was going in because I'd been following production of it. And it was everything I wanted from it. Like,
Same.
Personally, as a satanic panic nerd, this movie scratches a very specific itch. And in some parts, and I'll talk about it when we get to those parts in the episode, they're using real news footage of very specific things that we've covered on Cult Podcast and shit. So I am here for this movie, aggressively.
Yeah, I thought it was really dope. It's there are, I think, some scary moments that got me.
Sure.
Although I did think it was going to get way scarier. In the section where they're it's paused and they're moving frame by frame. Like I was expecting like a
jump scare,
chapter 2 level scare, and it never got that scary, right? But I really liked what the movie's saying. I like the way it's presenting it. I like that they just put the Amazing Randy in a movie and just called him something else. But
yes.
That is 1000% the Amazing Randy, and I fucking love that guy.
They've specifically said that that's what he's based on, and there's a bunch of other stuff that is based on real people and real things too.
Oh yeah, that's like straight up lifted for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I loved it. Loved it as a nerd for that shit.
Yeah, same. I thought it was awesome. So like there's a lot to like about this movie, but yeah.
Jules, how'd you feel?
Yeah.
Because I know this was your second time, I think.
I've only seen it in theaters, which was the funniest experience getting into a movie. I don't know if you guys got to view like all the production logos that start before the movie starts.
All like 7?
We will talk about it, yes.
Oh yeah.
It takes a while. There's like a Family Guy clip that like is exactly that situation.
Yes.
I was in the theater and like by the 4th one, I was like, one more.
But Jules, whenever you see like multiples like that, aren't you like, oh no, this is going to be trash?
It's usually going to be trash.
Because I thought that too, but I didn't feel that way at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
I'm same with Paige. Like I followed a bit of the production for a minute, knowing like some stuff here and there. So I was going into it really excited. There were some things that I agree, Todd. Like I was like, I do wish it was a bit scarier. I felt like it was going to be more scarier.
I don't wish it was scarier. I appreciated the level of scary that it was. In fact, they could have backed it off a little bit. When that chick's head split in half.
When her head cleft in twain.
I hated it.
She became an EDM concert.
Hated it. Also, they had like a mini Shai Hulud. Like I wasn't into it.
Oh yeah, there was like a mini Shai Hulud.
Yeah.
That was great. Loved it. No notes.
But overall, I really like it. I like what's his name? Dismuch.
Oh yeah, David Dasmalchian.
Dasmalchian.
He's the guy who played Jack.
Dasmalchian.
Dasmalchian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
I feel like he's had a lot of smaller character roles. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he does so well in this that I'm like, yeah.
He's very memorable.
He can carry a movie. Like, let him carry a movie. He did great.
Yeah.
He carried this movie. Like,
yes.
Yeah. He was great in this movie.
He did a great job.
I also think his, I guess, Ed McMahon kind of figure, like the bigger Gus.
Yes.
Who gets gaslit this entire movie.
Poor Gus.
Like, Gus, I love Gus. He's like one of my favorite parts of this movie. Like, he's always trying to like make light of like these like crazy situations.
Oh.
Like when Christoph or whatever throws up on the Amazing Randy and they're like going to break. As they go to break, he goes to the audience and is like, so the Surgeon General recommends taking Pepto-Bismol when talking to the dead. I was like, and that's like it's like you barely hear it. It's just like he's walking over there to say that to the audience. It was so fucking funny.
The commitment to the realism of what it's like filming a live TV show in front of a live audience that they do is amazing, even down to the aspect ratio of what you're seeing, which would have been the aspect ratio of TV in the 70s.
Yeah.
Every part of it.
That's all that grainy footage.
The grainy footage. My one complaint, and it is a production note that people were kind of up in arms about, and I understand why it happened, but I feel like they could have made a different choice, is the interstitials, the like welcome back and whatever, were all AI generated.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. Armando Torres and I love this aesthetic. We are obsessed with it to the point where we'll dick around and make shit like that in Canva or just whatever for fucking fun. It doesn't take that long. You could have paid a graphic designer to do it. It wouldn't have even been that expensive.
Could have just paid a guy.
You could have, yeah. Well, and it's like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, AI to keep the cost down. I'm like, this was not your biggest cost.
Yeah,
like,
could have gone on Fiverr.
You could have done a Fiverr and gotten this same thing. And I think it was more for people to like prove that they could. And that was like an extra thing that they're like, haha, we did this. And I was like, you didn't need to. A guy could have done that for probably less time than it took trying to feed that shit into AI and get it right. So, yeah, that's my one complaint.
Do you mean just like the static title cards as they
transition? Yes, Todd.
What a dumb thing to AI generate.
Yeah.
I know.
I could have made all of those in Canva in 45 minutes.
I know, Todd, same. And
all of them. Not just one. All of them.
All of them. And I'm bad at it. Like, I'm the least skilled, and I could have done it.
I'm real good at Canva. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm okay at Canva. A real Three Bears situation here.
Give Armando an Adobe license. He'd have that shit done so fast and cooler. Like, it was wild. And here's the thing. I err on the side of not using AI in art for a lot of reasons. I have a lot of moral issues with it. But like, this seemed, I was like, this just, my moral issues aside, this seems dumb. Just pay a guy. Come on. Get Canva. It's free. Like, it would probably cost less when you think about the license for like Midjourney or whatever the fuck they used.
Do you know how many prompts they had to type in to get that one of those pictures?
So fucking many.
Skeletons.
When I tell you that Armando and I were working on 2 separate projects, my pilot, the pitch deck for my pilot, and then his, like, a deck for something he was working on, and it was this aesthetic. And I was trying to get it to make the diner from my pilot, and Armando was trying to get it to make almost like flashcards, like playing cards, or like character cards. And it took us hours to get it to do not what we wanted, to the point where like after 3 hours we gave up and we're like, just let Canva fucking do it. I swear to God. And like,
you ever try to get one of those things to spell something correct?
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Failure.
Worse.
You may as well jump on a fish. Like, it's just not going to happen. Anyway, so what'd you guys like about it?
Like, I'm with Paige. I'm all about that. The aesthetic of the whole movie itself. I love that it's all basically in real time with like an actual filming and coming back, like a live late night taping.
Yes,
it's almost like a found footage film in that way. It's just a highly edited found footage film because it was just a copy of the live broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so like that sort of made sense.
And the marketing and the way I kept on hearing stuff about the movie made me think that this was based off like a real late night taping that happened. So I also had that inkling a little bit in the beginning, because I was just like, well, yeah, I do remember all those late night guys. I do remember there being like a ton of late night people trying to fight for that Johnny Carson title, basically, and all that. But yeah, the aesthetic, the way everything flowed, David Dasmalchian, so close. I thought he was real good. I like the creepiness of it. I don't care for the ending, but I mean, other than that, like everything else, I was like, this is good. The ending reminded me, oh yeah, this is a Shudder movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fair. I didn't mind the ending as much. I have questions about it, but yeah.
And it being a Shudder movie is not a dig on Shudder. It's like saying like, oh, this is a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Yeah.
You kind of know the vibe you're probably gonna get.
Yeah, you know what you signed up for when you signed up for Shudder. Yeah.
I would say this is the best Shudder movie I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
I think so
like
too.
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Although the other one that comes close is Deathstream, also great.
Oh, Deadstream,
that's what it was.
Okay, I think I might like Deadstream a little bit more than this, but
I think you identify more with Deadstream.
Yeah, I mean, they wrote Deadstream for me specifically.
Yeah. And they wrote this movie for me specifically.
I really do like this movie, though. I think they do a great job. And anytime I see like an Amazing Randy allegory on the screen, I'm here for it.
Love.
Yeah.
I mean, for the amount of time Todd and I have spent shouting about how Ed and Lorraine Warren are con artists, this movie was made for us.
And he is the one like that like, I'll give you $100,000 if you can prove that paranormal exists. Like that was a real thing.
Yeah.
And like they never, like he
no
never
one
had
ever
to
got
pay
that money.
Of course, because it doesn't exist. But I will say this. At the very end of this movie, right before the Amazing Randy allegory gets, I guess, Indiana Jones to death, and then
he gets Kali Mod. Yeah, for sure.
It's Mark of the Covenant.
Yeah, it's definitely Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, but he sees irrefutable proof.
Yes,
that the devil exists and this demon exists, and that motherfucker converts immediately.
Immediately,
he gets on his knees, and he's like. I wrote it down because it was nuts. Yeah, he goes, Lord of the Flies, God of the ungodliness, I promise to serve thee. And then, like, he gets melted. But, like, you know, he saw irrefutable proof.
Not before offering the check. He's like, I'm a man of my word. Here's that check.
And then the guy's like, abracadabra. And like it just like disappears.
Oh, so funny. I loved it.
Yeah. And then he gets like turned into goo.
Yeah.
As you do.
Anyway, I thought that shit was amazing because it was like, I don't think any of it exists, but I'm not going to fuck with it energy. I really enjoyed it.
The ending gave me questions. We'll discuss it when we get there because I feel like we have to lay the groundwork. I love the aesthetic. I thought all the performances were great. As a nerd for this era of, I guess, spirituality and satanic panic thought, I loved that they did their homework.
They did, man.
Hardcore. And I respect the hell out of that. And there were shows at the time that were like, yeah, we're going to have the Klan and Anton LaVey duke it out. like that's the kind of craziness.
Oprah was kind of like that for a bit.
Oprah had yes. And so I love that it feels like a throwback to that. I love that they adhere to the time frame. It does feel like a found footage movie. And in a way it is. It's just found through TV cameras. Right. And for me, I'm like, this is the right way to do a found footage movie.
Yeah,
this is
it's cool.
Perfect. Like, this is great.
For me, I can suspend my disbelief enough to be like, of course the cameras would still be on him.
Right.
When it's like in between commercials, which of course it wouldn't be. But like, I don't care. Like I can suspend my disbelief for that kind of shit.
But I also really like that transition.
They actually are on you. They leave the cameras on.
Well, he like goes backstage and shit.
The backstage,
like,
not
they'd
as
have
much.
to have someone on a handheld following him. But you're right, Paige. That's not all the time. That's only a few times.
That's only a few times. And a more modern version, there would be cameras backstage.
There would be.
Because they're catching it for content. And I think what this may be is just kind of a modern sensibility of the time. Because at the time, you didn't really have the ability to be that mobile.
Yeah.
Some people did, but it was rare. But even within that, I feel like it adheres really closely to the rules of the world. It does fake us out for most of the movie where you're like, is it fake? Is it real? What's going on? Who's going where?
I knew at the very beginning of this movie exactly what was going to happen, and I called it all.
But you still didn't hate it. You still watch it, and it's still amazing.
For me, like I'm not ever really trying to figure it out. If I figure it out and it ends up being that, I just want to be here for that ride. You know?
Yes.
I want to see that storyteller's version of what I made up in my head because I saw the first 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened in this movie. I nailed it, but like still loved the way they got there, you know?
Yeah.
Because like you nail things like, oh, he's going to end up killing the girl because they have to sacrifice a child in that cult.
Right,
and
right.
he's clearly a part of it because he was a member of the Grove, which
of
still
Bohemian
exists.
Grove, yeah.
And like, is a thing.
It's not really I mean, I feel like the screenwriters started with the conceit of what if every conspiracy theory from the Satanic Panic was true?
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. A lot of this has been debunked and it's not true and not scary, but I love the alternate universe of it's all true. Yeah. Hilarious. I love it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I'm a nerd for all that Satanic Panic stuff too. So I really loved I even love that they like made fun of Billy Carter, which is like President Carter's brother. Because I didn't know this until like, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, but Billy Carter launched a beer while his brother was president.
Yep.
And it was called Billy Beer.
Yep.
So I knew that. I didn't know when it launched. So this movie is supposed to take place the night of October 31st, 1977. Billy Beer launched in July of this year. So he still would have been in the news for doing that when this happened. So the fact that they mentioned him in the monologue, I was like, oh shit, that's like really, they did their homework, you know? Like, I knew from that moment on, we were like, I was in good hands from like a nerd capacity. I was afraid that I was also in good hands from a horror, like a scary capacity.
Yeah.
And listen, I thought it was scary enough.
It could have been scarier though.
Yeah.
It could have been scarier. Yeah.
But I appreciated it for what it was. I will say I have some notes that I'll go over in fun facts for why they chose the night they chose for the movie.
Was it not October 31st?
No, it is. It is.
Oh, okay. Why they chose that day of
like
the year?
The year
okay.
and like all of it.
Okay.
They had some very strict requirements. The level of homework done for this movie is so commendable. Like the more I dug into fun facts, I was living. I was so impressed. Very, very excited.
Don't you guys just fucking love nerds?
Yes.
Like anyone who's like just willing to do the homework for me and then just create amazing shit with like I love it. Thank you, nerds.
God bless you.
Well, and the stuff like this and the willingness to do the homework and the writing work. This is why when I see a movie that kind of fumbles with plot holes or whatever, this is why I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because movies like this exist where they're like, no. We made sure the things that you wouldn't even notice on a first watch were correct. So you're welcome. Like, I love it. I love it. There's also, I'm going to have to watch this again because...
Oh, me too. I'm sure I missed stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's actually Easter eggs of the wife showing up as a ghost multiple points throughout the movie.
Weird. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like just in the background?
Yes. Yeah. In the background, but also a lot of backstage where he's like walking backstage and she's like in a doorway and stuff.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So like I have to watch
Okay.
this again.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton to unpack. It's great. Yeah.
Wow. Fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just maybe go through it scene by scene?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it.
So we open with the most production companies we've ever seen in front of any movie we've ever done.
So goddamn many.
It literally might be 7. I didn't count, but it felt like 7. I want to say the number is 7.
I think it was 7 because I was trying to count and I was like, this is the most.
And Paige, you famously can't count to 7.
I can't.
So like we'll never know if it was 7 or more, but it was at least 7.
I've never done a tax.
A tax. Just one. You've never done a tax. Not a single one of them.
Not a single one.
I hate it. I hate attacks when he drowns in that forest. It's so sad.
I cried so hard. Ruined my childhood. No.
Attacks, please.
As we know on this show, the more production companies you have at the beginning, the less likely the movie is good.
It's a
so
red
when I
flag.
saw this, it's a huge red flag because it means they had trouble raising money. Now, here's the thing. It can go both ways. One, it could be because the movie is bad, which is when we normally see it. But 2, it could be because people didn't believe in the concept of a movie. And so they had to like convince a bunch of small production companies for smaller amounts of money.
Yeah, to like band together.
To cobble it together to do the movie. And I think that's what happened here. But similarly, that's what happened with Talk to Me, which also had a ton of production companies, but then ended up being really good.
Yeah.
And the creators of this are Australian. So I think that there's maybe some of that as well because they are foreign technically, that like maybe that went through a couple different rounds of fundraising as well. But I think that's what happened is that people were like, this is a wild out there concept and I don't know if it's going to work. And that made it hard to raise money. But clearly it worked. They nailed it.
They did, I think, a really smart job. And I realized I was just like, hey, let's get into the movie. And now we're not getting into the movie. But I think that they did a really smart job to keep what I think a pretty low budget for this because it's
single location.
It's single location and it's just, over quote one night. I'm sure it took them a while to shoot it. But,
many, yes.
Yeah. It's over one night and it's all inside so you can shoot during none of that matters really.
Yeah.
So you can keep the budget low because of some of that. But yeah, I think they did a really smart thing with this movie because it almost feels like a stage play.
Yes.
But
in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool to see as a stage play though. Yeah.
It would be.
Oh, I think this would fucking crush as a stage play. I would, and if anyone wants to do this live, I will buy a ticket. Like, I would kill. That'd be great.
I think we hire the dude that did Frozen and his wife because she also wrote it with him. And we get like 7 banger songs and turn this piece of shit into a musical. Let's go.
It's late night with the devil.
I would love that.
We're gonna talk to scientists and psychics and the devil.
In the grove, can't hold her back anymore. Yeah,
The grand finale is the girl splitting her head.
Just their heads splitting open.
And it's a dance party.
Yeah. Live flames on stage, pyrotechnics.
Is that a young Justice Scalia back there at the Grove? Anyway.
Real.
Spoiler alert, it was.
It absolutely was. There's a TV on the stage. It goes to static, and then we see news footage. Now, a lot of the footage we're seeing is actual news footage recycled from other things and just presented in this context so that it feels like it's part of this story, but it probably didn't cost them much to use. incredibly smart move if you can pull it off. And part of the way they do pull it off is this is based on things that really happened.
Yeah.
So they're just pulling news stories from when it actually happened. And it immediately gives it this sense of reality that I think works incredibly well. They show shots of Son of Sam, of the Manson family.
I mean, all the crazy shit that was happening in the 70s. Like
in the 70s, the most violent decade on earth.
Post-free love, cult craziness, satanic panic starting. Like all of that crazy shit.
Yeah, but they're also giving us like a retrospective of Jack's career of like how he got to this point.
Yeah.
So like when he started the Night Owl show, and then they introduced this whole he's been seen at the Grove and people think that's suspicious, which like if you want a treat, go watch the YouTube video of Alex Jones trying to break into Bohemian Grove, because it's just him walking around being like, I can't get in. I want to see the owl. And you're just like, it's a country club, dude. Like they're not going to just let you in.
I stayed at a place like that once.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that. It was the Pacific Union Club in San Francisco, but I had to take a note from the senator like to allow me to stay there. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like a handwritten note.
I mean, here's the thing. For all of the craziness that we find out that like Diddy did and stuff, I think people really want to believe that these secret societies are so tawdry and interesting. And anytime I've been involved in anything close to it, it is way more boring than people expect. And it's just rich people doing rich people shit. Yeah. That's not to say you don't occasionally get an Epstein Island. Like clearly you do, but like, you know, I think people want there to be a more clear evil as opposed to just, hey, sometimes rich people serve their own interests. And that's the evil, is that it hurts a bunch of people. Yeah. But like, anyway, watch Alex Jones trying to get in. It's really funny. And I will burn a fun fact because I found this out and I was obsessed with it for the rest of the movie. In some variations of the idea of selling your soul to the devil, the lore is that the devil comes to collect the sacrifice within 7 years. So in this very like montage, we see that in November of 1972, he signs a 5-year deal. But we also present that he started in 1969 before his show started at the Grove. So if he sold his soul at the Grove, 7 years later is that show in 1976 where his wife goes on the show and then dies 2 weeks later of lung cancer, implying that she is the sacrifice.
Oh, she is the sacrifice. Like,
yes.
Yeah. I actually sort of like the metaphor of this movie quite a bit.
Wow.
Well, I feel like if you are in any sort of entertainment industry capacity at certain points in your life, you will choose that work over family time and things, and it will make you feel guilty and selfish every time. Yep. And sometimes there's just no avoiding it.
Yeah, I also like at the end, like that last shot where he has stabbed the girl, the 13-year-old girl, Lilith.
Yes.
Or Lily, I guess they call her.
Lily.
But it's Lilith, guys.
It's Lilith.
It's Lilith.
Yeah.
We all know. We know what's up. I see what you're doing there.
We know our apocrypha.
Yeah. Come on. Nagamani scrolls or whatever. But like at the end of it, it shows that shot where it's just like him, probably the most famous person in the world when this news hits.
Right.
Alone in the world.
Alone.
He is by himself on stage. And I fucking loved that. Like he did everything he could up to and including selling his soul to the devil.
And murdering the one person he loved. Yes.
Yes. And got what he wanted. And now he is alone.
Yes.
I was like, this is why I'm in therapy.
Wild. It's wild.
It reminds me of that quote from Into the Woods of be careful what you wish for because you just might get it, essentially. Like, anyway. So what we get in this montage is that he's incredibly successful, but he's not on top. He's not number one. And then she passes away. He's having a rough time. He comes back to the show. He's doing even worse. It's very Jerry Springer. I love it. Like when he's got that woman as a guest and she's like, I know who you are. And he's like, we'll be back. You won't be.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
I do love that this is like 70s Conan trying to like, make a name for himself.
Yes.
But also like if his wife died and then he took like a real bad turn to the negative, like that's where we're living with Jack in this part of the movie.
Yeah, it very much humanizes him though, because I feel like there's never a point in the movie where you dislike Jack, even though he has made bad choices, and I think that's a very unique line to walk.
And especially obvious bad choices too.
Oh yeah. Because at this point in the movie, I was like, oh, he sacrificed her, you know?
Yes.
Like, I knew what he had done already, and I was like, I get it, though. Like, he is charming. Like, I get why they gave him his own show.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But and here's the thing. It's like, throughout the movie, even at the end, when we see what we see, I think the question remains, did he truly sacrifice her? Did he offer her up? Or does he just bear the guilt of her death, and that's how it is represented in his brain? That he gave her up to get this.
I think either way, the metaphor still works. I read it that he straight up sacrificed her.
Sure.
And then in the metaphor, it's like the relationship, you know, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely could see it the other way too. Like, I don't think it tells us definitively either way. Yeah.
It doesn't. I think it's equally powerful either way. But
Same.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So we find out at the end of this montage that his contract is set to expire. Those 5 years are up after sweeps, and sweeps week is in October. And this is, I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit here. They had to find a sweeps week where the Monday of sweeps week started on the 31st of October.
Okay, yeah.
Which is Halloween 1977. That was the only year in the time frame that did.
Nice. Okay.
That's like a level of detail like Uncut Gems. Same things.
Yes.
Because all the game is real.
Yes.
But the script is written around this specific time where a player did well, then immediately did bad, and then did well again.
Yes.
But I like that level of like, that's how much detail we have to get right.
Yeah.
Or we want to get right.
That's how much attention we're paying to this.
Yeah.
And so he plans an episode to try and turn things around. It's shock value. He's going to try and make one of the most shocking episodes.
He's trying to go viral in 77, essentially. Yeah.
And because it's 77, the thing that's going to make it go viral is the satanic panic. Like, he has the pulse of what is going viral at the time. And I think there's also an element of, hey, I made this deal. I took on this devil's gambit. And maybe that's the only thing that gets me out, is exposing the reality of that.
Yeah.
So we cut to the show. We get the ad for the Cavendish group of companies. I do think it's funny that we never end up meeting those people. We know they're in the audience, but like we don't get to talk to them. We never see them. And we open this episode of Night Owls with Jack Delroy, where they introduce everyone that's going to be on. Christu Carmichael, who is essentially the amazing Randy, and then Lily and Dr. Jules, and then Cleo James, who gets bumped every week like the Lindsey Buckingham of this show.
I was gonna say that. I love that they have like a Lindsey Buckingham bit. I wanted so badly for it to like cut backstage and it just be Bill Hader like dressed
just
as
be like, motherfucker.
It would have broken the I guess gravity of the moment, because it happens like right at the end when shit's about to pop off. But man, that would have been so funny.
So funny. But we open the show, and for the first 20 minutes or so, because this is only 93 minutes long, they're cut to the time of the show. They do manage their pacing very, very well. But that, they also have to adhere to the pacing of a late night show. So we open with some fun banter between the host and his sidekick, and then we go into the monologue, and the monologue is all jokes that would have been relevant at the time.
Yeah, that's like that Billy Beer joke. It wasn't a Billy Beer joke. It was just about Billy, who they would have been making fun of because his brother was president.
Well, and also, so every president has a dumb brother. It's my favorite thing about presidents.
John Adams' cousin started Samuel Adams Beer. Like, yeah.
Yeah, every president has a relative that's gonna ruin the presidency for them, and it is never not funny to me.
So, Paige, quick question.
Yeah.
Which one of your relatives would ruin the presidency for you?
No, I'm the one who's gonna ruin the presidency for somebody else in my family, for sure.
Damn.
And that's why I'm voting for you in 2024.
No.
She's like us. She's a real person.
Yeah.
Down to earth.
She's a real person.
Just like me.
Yeah. You know what I like about Paige? She's a businesswoman.
That's what's up.
I love when people say that about, like,
I'm an outsider.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, Paige.
We need someone who's not a politician to be a politician.
I'm not 76 years old. How about that?
That also is the biggest thing I'm looking for.
I just want anyone who's not in a diaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't make that promise.
How about for non-kink reasons?
All right.
Gross.
Anyway, this is where they introduce the theremin, which is the spooky music sounds.
Have you guys ever seen someone play the theremin live?
Yes.
Like in a band?
Yes.
I saw it in an orchestra.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I mean like gone to a rock show and someone busts out a theremin.
No, I've never seen that.
Like in the audience?
No. I mean like you're going to see a band and someone's on stage playing the theremin.
I'm cool.
Like someone part of the band?
Yes.
Yes.
Someone is, you're there to see music and someone has a music instrument on stage called the theremin.
And air quotes, music instrument. Yes. No, Todd.
That's my point. Okay, that's what I'm
Tell
trying
us
to get
about
to.
the thing you saw.
Let me get to this. I've seen it a few times. It's never in the band you paid to see.
Of course not.
And I feel like that is a reason to let's just not with the theremin, guys.
Yeah, it's not like Chapel Roan is walking out with a theremin. It's always the opener.
Exactly. Your name is not on the ticket if you brought a theremin to your set.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We're Black Magic Woman and we're going to play some of our originals. Like, it's that shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, are you Santana cover band?
Yep. I did like their Billy Carter joke is a like classic home run slam dunk monologue joke of they offered Billy a position with the FBI or the CIA, but he didn't want to take anything he couldn't spell. Boom.
It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Honestly, would have done all right at a roast battle.
Oh, it would have been great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to roast someone dumb again.
Yeah.
That'd be a blast.
Paige, are you challenging me right now?
I would eat you for lunch and then I would roast battle you.
I know. You said fight someone dumb.
Oh no, I'm sure somebody will have seen my videos and challenge me and I'll be like, do I want to just humiliate a person that saw me on Instagram? Maybe I do.
I mean, yeah, sure you should, but
how fun is it for me?
Is it responsible? Paige,
No.
I'm pretty sure the government has had you register your jokes as lethal weapons in this Con Air roast battle remake that I'm doing.
I was like, are my thoughts registered weapons?
Yeah, because of woke.
Because of
woke. Because of the woke.
The woke. Them as a group.
That's the next horror movie. After that they/them movie, it's the woke.
It does sound like it would be produced by Jordan Peele. You're right.
The woke. I didn't see they/them. Was it good?
I didn't watch it either because I didn't think it was going to be good. I am a they/them, and I'm like, fuck that, dude. Even with Kevin Bacon, I'm kind of like,
oh wait, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
It was in a pile of movies that all came out at once, and we do the show, so like there's a limit to what I can physically put in front of my eyeballs for time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I watched a movie for pleasure. I watched this movie on a plane from LAX to Nashville earlier today. And the guy next to me who was watching his own iPad was a little too interested in what I was watching.
There you go.
I kept turning it away from him. I'm like, stop, it's rated R. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
A titty might pop out. I got to protect you from reporting me or whatever.
One could only hope.
I don't think it does. I didn't see any boobs or anything really except for gore.
There were no titties.
TSA is arresting you for TNA.
Yeah.
I do love that when people swear on the show, they freak out.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's still a live TV show.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway, he introduces that this episode is going to be about the occult and spiritualism. So their first guest is Chris Dew, who I love that he gets it wrong. That first one goes off the rails immediately. So badly.
It honestly feels like an SNL sketch.
Yes.
Because the guy in the audience has some zingers, man. Like that guy needs to be on stage.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
But explain what happens.
Essentially, he's trying to cold read people, which is how a lot of people who claim to be mediums or psychics con people.
Or like pastors or preachers who can God tells them and do exactly.
Yeah, faith healing works in much the same way.
South Park explains it so well.
As they often do.
And it's so funny that like that's like it's like Stan back when what's his name? He was like he was one who kind of like blew up with it, like on like a show and everything.
He's the most famous one, but he also messes up so much I don't remember his name.
Yeah. But basically they're making fun of him, and then Stan's just literally explains to people like, no, this is how I'm doing it, and they're like, you must have powers.
Yes, yeah. And people use it for all kinds of stuff. We use it like if you've ever seen a comedian who's really good at crowd work, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it is that same muscle of I can make assumptions about the people in front of me because I have met enough people and done this enough times that I know that there are likely guesses. Like if I point at somebody in the front row of the audience and are like, so how long have you guys been married? They're sitting next to each other. I could have noticed they had rings. It's an easy pick.
Holy shit. How did you know they were married, Paige?
Psychic.
She's got the gift.
She's got the gift.
Oh my God, Paige.
Burn her.
My favorite takedown of this kind of psychic entertainment is John Oliver did a whole episode on the history of this kind of entertainment, but also cold reading and how it works. And if you are interested, it is on YouTube. Go watch it. That's one of the best ones to understand really how they're doing it. But he gets the first one wrong. Now, here's another trick. Sometimes they'll get the first one wrong to make the second one look more believable, which is also what I think he does in this movie, because the first one, he's like, I'm getting a name. Peter, Peterson. And the guy's like, Peterman. He's like, Peterman, it's definitely you. Your wife is dead. And he's like, no, she ran off with a neighbor 5 years ago. Like he's just, nothing is actually right. But then he turns to the women in the front and are like, I'm getting a name. Edmund, your son, he took his life, and he knows all of these things. We will reveal later in the movie that he did another trick that they use, which is to gather information before the show to then draw those conclusions and kind of isolate people. Yeah. So after he's done those two, and the one where he's talking to the mother and sister who have lost a son/brother is very impactful, and it is kind of emotionally manipulative in the way that this kind of entertainment is. And I think they do a really good job of representing it in the movie, where it seems like, how could he have known any of that, right? How could he have known? And then we'll find out after how he did. But that's how these entertainers and faith healers and a number of other people get people, is they get to where you're like, oh, there's someone I've lost that I would love to hear from. Yeah. And if you could just tell me something from them, that would make me feel better. And that would give me closure. And I'll be honest with you, I don't hate people getting closure in that way. If that makes you feel better and you're not hurting anybody, and you go into it knowing that, hey, it might just be somebody telling you that, great, fine, do it. Hey, I'm not a person that doesn't believe weird spiritual stuff exists. Who knows? Hey, maybe it does. I just don't like people conning people. That's my side of it. Yeah.
That's my line too. I sort of look at like all of that stuff as like for entertainment only. And as long as you're upfront about it, like, you know, if it's for entertainment only, if you want to read into this, cool. But for legal reasons, it's for entertainment only, you know?
Yeah. I think what I would actually love to see is someone do a show where they're like, this is cold reading. Do you want to see how good I am at it?
That's what the Amazing Randy was doing at the time, exposing these people. Yeah, like he was just a magician that was like, oh, these people are using the same techniques that I use as a magician to like bilk people out of money and like take advantage of people. And so he was trying to expose what they were doing.
Yeah.
I do love that, the Houdini-ness of it all, because that's even what Houdini was doing. Like after his wife died, he would go to mediums and then just be like, you're full of shit. I just proved it. Nobody give this person your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100.
I love exposure.
It's like I really would love if someone made a movie about it. Like the whole like magicians versus spiritualism, because Houdini was like the 20s, right? Like, and then the Amazing Randy was doing it from like the 60s on. Like that dude, he passed away, but he was really early into the like, no, we have to expose spiritualism for what it is.
I would actually love to see a combo of
pretzels and cheese.
Obviously.
That exists.
Or caramel popcorn and cheese popcorn together in one bag. That also exists. I love it.
I was just describing combos.
I do love combos.
Same.
Magicians / psychics, right?
Yeah.
Mediums.
They're the same thing.
Yeah. Televangelists and comedians in a documentary about how they all use these same specific skills.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. You mean, yeah. That would be cool.
I would love that.
There's a ton of overlap between all of those vaudevillian-esque professions.
Yeah. Anyway, so he finishes up with the mom and the daughter, and all of a sudden, his entire physicality changes.
Yeah.
The actor playing Christu does a great job because you see him be like, oh no, something is wrong. I am actually hearing from someone and I can't unhear it, where he's like screaming and his eyes are rolling back in his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, Minnie, who needs to hear from Minnie? And we cut to David Dastmalchian, who like you watch his face kind of go a little cold.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, and because it's like Minnie needs to talk to a unmarried man that's wearing a wedding ring. And I was like, oh, that's Jack right there.
Right there.
Because you know he hasn't taken his wedding ring off yet.
Yep.
Even though it's pretty implied that he's banging the author.
Yeah, which, hey, he's single. He can.
Technically, he is.
We'll talk about her when we get to her because I have notes. We're going to talk about Michelle Remembers. Like, get ready.
Good.
Yes. So the electricity goes out. It comes back and they're like, we're going to take a quick break after these messages. And he asks Christu to stay for the next segment, but Christu is not doing okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do also feel like this is the first time he's actually experienced hearing voices.
I think so.
So he's like going through a lot. He's like, holy shit. Is the grift now real?
Yes.
Like, what is happening?
But he's also trying to keep that like weird like performer composure. Like he's trying.
He's on TV.
And Paige, I don't know if you've had this where you're just like, man, I
Sick
feel
as
like
a
shit. I
dog.
feel like garbage. I
Yes.
sound like garbage, but I got a fucking show. I got to go do it. You down like whatever you can down. You get to the show. You tell the other comics in the green room. You're like, man, you don't look good. I'm like, I'm leaving as soon as I get off stage.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
But as soon as you like, hey everybody, how you guys doing today? Yeah, it's great to be here.
You have to,
that's
though. Like,
crazy.
You have
Who's
to.
dating? Who's driving for Uber?
And then as soon as you get off stage, projectile vomit, black ooze, because of a demon spawn.
Onto the host.
Onto the host. Hey, thank you.
If I had a nickel for every time I've like left the stage and walked directly into a bathroom to either have like violent diarrhea or to throw up, I'd be a rich lady. Todd, I don't know if you remember when you and Mikey were in Hollywood and you guys roast battled.
Yeah.
Do you remember talking to my opponent that night?
No.
Ryan Nesson was the sickest I've ever seen him.
Yes. No, I forgot that he was your opponent. I thought he was just the sick
I
comic
remember that,
backstage. Yeah.
Yes. He was like gray.
Yeah.
Like he looked terrible and was just wearing, and normally he dresses really nice. He's just wearing a white t-shirt and he's sweating through it.
Yeah.
Like that's how sick he was. We go on stage. You would never tell from the video of that battle on stage, no indication that he was sick. And he comes off stage. He's like, I gotta go home. I feel terrible.
Leave immediately.
Left immediately. That was wild.
He had a great show, though. It was a great show.
Great show. We do also in these scenes, they're interviewing the guy in the audience that was like, yeah, no, she's not dead. She just left me. And then they interview the skeleton next to him, which, by the way, is the Silver Shamrock skeleton mask.
I know. I saw that. Yeah.
Oh.
I was very excited to see that.
I wouldn't be shocked if the other two are also in the audience somewhere. We just don't get a close up on them.
Yes, and there's other people. This is why I got to rewatch this, because he doesn't speak, and it's implied that the skeleton is one of the Grove members.
Yeah.
But then in the later scenes with the Grove members, we see other people from the audience, implying that Xandor Dabo is probably in the audience as well as a couple other people. So I want to rewatch and see who I can pick out in the audience, because you do get audience shots.
Yeah,
so
you do. Yeah.
That I think would be a fun game for a rewatch. So we cut to a break. They have Christo on stage. He's looking terrible. He's not doing good. He's refusing makeup. He's not doing well. Jack goes backstage to be like, okay, are we ready for the next segment? We're going to have Carmichael on, who is essentially an analog for the Amazing Randy.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, weird. We noticed there's a bunch of restraints and knives backstage. What's the fuck's that about? And he's like, don't worry about it. Because he clearly is trying to do something without getting the crew's approval, because they probably would have said no.
Right. It seems like like Jack and his producer are the only ones that really sort of know what's going to go down.
His chain smoking producer who never not has a cigarette in his hand.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Probably the most cartoonish part of the whole movie, but I loved it. I was just like, I love that every time he comes in the frame. Hey, listen here, Jack. We got the ratings off. The phones are coming in.
It does look like he's like walking around a porn set in the 70s, like directing. Like that's his vibe.
I can picture his house. Like bowl of keys, conversation pit, haze of smoke. Everything smells like an ashtray.
The only thing that isn't covered in carpet is the ceiling.
Oh, no. The ceiling is also covered in carpet. I've been to Graceland. Anyway, we cut back out to Christou. They're about to go back live, and Christou's nose is bleeding. And they're like, man, look, you can stop pretending now. It's over. Like, we're going to go to the next segment. But it's clear that Christou is not okay. And before they go back to live, they want Jack to meet with the Cavendish people who are the advertisers.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't have time. We got to get back on the air. Okay, great. They go back on the air. They introduce the amazing Randy analog Carmichael Haig. I'm assuming named for Sid Haig in memory, most likely.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
And I do love that we get him doing close-up magic with a cigar, and he introduces his International Federation of Scientific Investigation of the Paranormal, which is a nod to any number of organizations like that at the time that were testing these claims. And then, of course, he is offering a monetary reward for anyone who can prove it. And I do love that he's like, this is a shot at me at Amityville, but Ed and Lorraine wouldn't show up. Love.
I did love that.
Love the shade at Ed and Lorraine.
Love it.
Throw them under the bus.
Welcome.
If you're not listening to the last podcast on the left, Ed and Lorraine coverage right now, because they're doing a multi-part on Ed and Lorraine, do yourself a favor and go listen to that. It's amazing.
I'll have to wait until it's done because that's one of those I got to binge.
I think there's only one more.
Yeah, I think there's only
left.
one more. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. And I do like Carr, as they call him through the rest of the movie, his explanation for why some of this works. He's like, people want to believe the world is mysterious and interesting. I don't begrudge anybody that. Hey, I want to believe it's more mysterious and interesting.
Same.
Would love if it was, you know?
That's what I loved about the actual Amazing Randy's vibe. He was like, all I want you to do is be able to prove it. Like, at that point, I'm not going to call you a liar, but until then, that's what you are, because you can't prove it.
Well, and I'm one of those people that if it happens to me and I witness it and I can't prove it, I'm just going to be like, I know what I saw. People can believe different things. Yeah. I'm going to adjust my belief system based on this, based on what I have experienced.
That's 1,000% what you should do.
Yeah, be that tangible or not.
If I had a nickel for every time I saw someone do a magic trick and I immediately offered them my soul, I would not be in debt.
I think David Blaine owns like at least 1.5 of my souls.
Well, I feel like it's like, I believe I've seen ghosts. I think I've talked about it on the show.
Oh, I've for sure seen ghosts.
What? Everyone tell me everything. Tell me everything.
Have I not talked about this? I know I've talked about this on other podcasts. So I worked in a building that was over 100 years old for a long time.
It's haunted. It's already immediately. I know it's
right.
haunted.
Well, hey, the Comedy Store's fucking haunted. Like, I refuse to hear any explanations of that not being haunted. They did mob hits there.
Paige, you took me there.
I know.
To a haunted place.
Yeah.
Did it feel weird? Did it have a vibe?
I loved it. I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Did you feel Louis C.K. breathing down the back of your neck?
It wasn't Largo.
No, but that plant looked pretty moist.
Yeah.
Is that too on the nose?
No. I think Jules finally heard what I said was it wasn't Largo.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, I worked at the Los Angeles Farmers Market, which is a brand new fancy mall attached to very old farmers market stalls that have been there since the 30s, so almost 100 years old. And I worked in one of the older buildings. And one morning, I was the opener and the assistant manager was in with me first thing. We opened the door to our store. He went to the back to grab the drawers for us to open the registers. I was tidying up, setting up some of the other stuff for the store to open. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone in the store. And I was like,
no.
Oh, did the kitchen come in before us?
No.
Because we had a kitchen with a kitchen staff. And so I went to the kitchen. There was nobody in the kitchen. And I remembered that Mike and I had to turn the alarm off, which meant that there couldn't have been anybody in the store.
It's weird that you think the ghost should have been in the kitchen, like it's their job to be there.
It was a man.
Okay.
So yes, he does belong in the kitchen. So I run back to the back where Mike was because I'm assuming there must be some explanation that maybe Mike came out to grab something and I saw him out of the corner of my eye and that's what I saw. And so I'm like, hey, Mike, were you just out And he was like, no, I haven't moved. I've been in here the whole time. And I was like, oh, weird. I was like, I thought there was a customer or something in the store, but I couldn't find anybody. And he was like, let me guess, turquoise polo shirt and jeans with a hat. And I was like, yeah.
Wait,
and he was like,
he's seen him too?
Yes. He's like, that's the ghost. Don't worry about it.
That's the ghost. Don't worry about it is something I'm never going to ever say to somebody. I might say that's the ghost, fucking run, but I'm never going to say don't worry about it.
Well, it never bothered us. So Mike was just like, look, I see him too sometimes, but like nothing ever happens. And I don't know what to tell you. It's just sometimes out of the corner of your eye, you see them, but then whatever. And I was like, okay, fuck. So I occasionally would see it and I would just be like, ignore it, right? Like it's just there. So then I get promoted. This is months later. I'm now the manager.
And I get an email from Ghost.
From the ghost.
At pamperedchef.net or whatever company it was. I can't remember. Surlatab.net.
We need to introduce ourselves to you.
Hello, we're on Surlatab's ghost board. We want to thank you for how hard you've been working here.
So I'm now the one opening with somebody who, like an associate to kind of do the rest of the store stuff. I open, I go back, I do the alarm, I get the drawers. I hear a scream and the girl that was opening runs back into the office and she was like, there's a customer in the store and I can't find them, but I know I saw them. And I'm like, turquoise polo shirt, jeans, and a white hat. And she was like, yes. And I was like, it's the ghost. I'm so sorry. Like, don't worry about it. There's nobody in the store. And she was like, no, there is. And I was like, I'll walk the store with you. There's nobody here, but like that. And so it multiple times, like multiple people saw it. And then when we were in LA, I went back into the store because now it's a Williams-Sonoma and I asked them and they were like, we never seen anything. And I was like,
I was with you when you did that.
Yeah.
I forgot that that's where I forgot that you worked there. I forgot that that's
Yes,
the same store because
that was the
it's
same
no
store.
longer a Sur La Table. That's right. I remember
no
that
longer
now.
Sur La Table.
Yeah.
Now they did do large scale renovations or whatever, but the woman I asked hadn't seen anything and she's like, I've never heard anybody say anything, but I don't accept that as a final answer. So if you work at the Williams-Sonoma at the farmer's market and you've seen the ghost, tell us about it.
Also, police sketch artists out there, if you could go ahead and give us a sketch artist rendering based on Paige's description.
He was just always shopping. He was just like shopping in the shelves.
That's how he died. He shopped till he dropped.
Oh no!
That's where the shop till you drop comes from.
That's the one where I'm like, I have no explanation. I can't prove anything. I just know what I saw. And so like, I don't expect people to believe me necessarily, but like, I know what I saw.
I'm pretty sure he had a heart attack on Black Friday, like 1985, and he's been haunting you since then.
That is around the era he was dressed as.
I know. I heard the description. I've seen the police sketch page.
Absolutely. But yeah, all the other people that work there, you're like, hey, remember the ghost? And they're like, oh yeah, they all do. Everyone believes it. It's wild. Anyway.
I hate this story.
That's all right.
No, but because like I don't like things that sound like they might be real when talking about
sound
ghosts.
Credible?
Yeah. I don't like it. Because again, I don't think they exist.
Sure.
But if they do, I'm not fucking with it. Like I'm gonna leave it alone.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's why we left him alone. We're
I
like,
agree.
he's not hurting us. Just leave him alone.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you in part by Purina. Purina is dedicated to creating richer lives for pets and the people who love them. From helping older pets think like their younger selves to making cat ownership a possibility for more people than ever, Purina is helping pets thrive so they can live long, healthy, and happy lives. Purina has you covered for all your furry friends' needs, whether they meow or bark. From litter to treats to their best-in-class, nutrient-packed food with taste your pets will love, Purina's got your back at every stage of your pet's life. Your pet gives you the joy of the spring sunshine all year round. So today and every day, care for your pet with Purina. Your pet is Purina's passion. To learn more, head to amazon.com/Purina.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Anyway, Chris while Carmichael's on stage and being like, yeah, none of it's real, no one can prove, Christou's obviously getting upset, but he's also coughing. Like he's doing badly.
Yeah.
And then eventually he gets angry enough that he throws water on Carmichael and goes to walk off the stage. And at this point, Jack is like, hey, weird enough. I think that last reading that he gave was for me. Minnie was my wife's nickname, but we only used it with each other. I didn't tell him about it.
Yeah.
And I'm a married man, an unmarried man with a wedding ring. So, and she did cross over, but Carmichael rightly points out that her passing was very public. It's possible that he could have heard about all that. There is a potential rational explanation even for this. And as he's explaining that, Christou, like Jennifer's bodies all over the stage, just black projectile vomit all over.
All over Carr specifically from like 8 feet away. Like,
oh yeah,
they're not very close together. Like,
no,
he has to like arch his back and like really get it going for it to like hike out there.
Yeah. And they cart him off stage. They rush him to a hospital. This is where we get the sidekick, Gus, who I think is also the warm-up guy for the live show, being like, yeah, the Surgeon General advises taking Pepto-Bismol before you talk to the dead. Is anybody here from out of town? Is
so
how
funny.
He finishes
It's
the
so
sentence.
funny.
It's so good.
It's like they're doing crowd work to keep the audience warm during the commercial break, right? And it's like the perfect transition from what they just saw. It's so funny.
So good. And Carmichael at this point pulls Jack aside and is like, that was gross. You're paying for my dry cleaning. Why can't you just get the Grove to help you out instead of doing all these theatrics? Like, invite me for the orgies. I want to get in for the orgies. He's pulling a real Alex Jones here.
And perhaps maybe an Amazing Randy at the time. I don't know.
Who knows? Here's the thing. Do I believe there's orgies there? Absolutely. Do I believe the devil shows up as a giant owl? No. I do believe rich people be fucking.
I believe someone shows up dressed as a devil.
Sure.
Yeah.
We all know the devil is a hawk.
Yes. Anyway, they cart Christou off in an ambulance with his wife. Now, this is also where they're like, keep that check handy. We're definitely going to see it again. This is right at the middle of the second act, which means that by the end of the second act, that check's going to come out again. We will see it again. I love how they adhere to it.
Yeah, Paige, it's literally Chekhov's check, and I love it.
Yes.
And I heard you say it too, like nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
They introduce the next guest for the next segment, which is Dr. June Ross Mitchell and Lily. Now, they do like a little mini documentary that is clearly meant to be like an Anton LaVey analog, but based on what people believed about him at the time, not the things that were actually going on. I like to refer to Anton LaVey as a party atheist because that's basically what was happening, where it was just like, what if we didn't believe in God, but also party? Like that's his whole thing. But he also painted his house black.
Oh, so he liked the modern look is what you're saying?
All black, no white trim, no woods. Mm-hmm. You know what's up. Anyway.
I don't.
In this documentary segment, they use real footage. And I lost my mind because the real footage they're using is actually from the LAPD and SWAT team's confrontation with the Symbionese Liberation Army when they raided their house.
No shit.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you don't know, the Symbionese Liberation Army is the group that kidnapped Patty Hearst. And as part of their trajectory as a group, they split in half. And half of them, with Patty Hearst, went on to rob a few banks and a few other things. The other half holed up in this house. Now, part of the reason the SWAT team got involved is because the guy who founded the Symbionese Liberation Army was a super fan of making his own homemade bombs. It's how he had ended up in prison to begin with. And within prison is where he kind of started the Symbionese Liberation Army with the students from Berkeley that came to read to him in prison. It's a fascinating story. I highly recommend it. But that is actual news footage from that raid.
I've always said it. Reading is dangerous.
Reading is dangerous. But as I was watching it, I was like, I've seen this footage before. And then I was like, oh my God, it's the Symbionese Liberation Army.
That's wild.
Wait a minute, I was there.
I had to watch this for a thing. Now, what they introduce is that Xandor Dabo, which of course is named after Xandor Anton LaVey, is the leader of the First Church of Abraxas, which is a Church of Satan analog for this movie, absolutely. But then they also include this idea of they burned down their own compound with everyone inside. That is also, there's a bunch of different groups that kind of fall into that trope, if you want to think of it that way, when it comes to cult stories. The Symbionese Liberation Army being one of them. A lot of them died in not only the shootout, but also the fire, because of course there were bomb making materials in the home. So it borrows a little bit from the real life story that they're stealing that news footage from, just if you're interested. But there seems to be one survivor, Lily. And Lily and Dr. June have been working together to then kind of break down her experience. Now, this mini documentary hits every satanic panic, like buzzword hot topic.
Like trope, yes.
Yes, of like Satan, blood sacrifices, breeding children to sacrifice children. And if you've done any amount of historical research around the satanic panic, a lot of the claims from the time are completely unfounded, and a lot of them are impossible, where it's like children saying that they could be flushed down the toilet, or somebody being like, hey, they've killed thousands of children in this city. It's like, that wouldn't be noticed. Like that's enough of people. Like there aren't even that many people around for you to notice. But what this borrows from more specifically is the phenomenon, I will call it, of Michelle Remembers. Michelle Remembers is a case where a woman complained of potentially being possessed and being abused in a satanic ritual environment under hypnosis with her therapist, who they later entered into a romantic relationship together. That book has been completely debunked, but it was so popular, it made all the rounds in the news at the time. They were called in as professional experts in satanic panic cases, and people were in prison because these people, the people that worked on Michelle Remembers, were the experts called in to claim that, yes, obviously this random preschool is sacrificing children to Satan. Like, do I think that you maybe want to investigate claims and make sure kids are okay? Sure. But like, there were people sitting in prison for years based on made up stories that thankfully now some of that has been resolved and some people have gotten out, but a lot of people never saw freedom again. So like, it's shitty, but I liked that they bring it up in this movie because that's exactly what this is Michelle Remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 10-year-old girl named Lily, strange behavior. The actress playing Lily not only looks like our friend Nicole Buchanan, which was a little off-putting, but also...
Is she?
Go back and look at her again.
Let me double check that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once I thought about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's the eyes, I think, and the hair. Anyway, she also stares right down the barrel of the camera all the time.
Yeah.
And does it purposefully because it's off-putting, but that was just a really nice small touch.
Holy
that
shit.
made right? Todd, allow me to share my screen and I'll bring up a picture.
Oh my God. Oh my God. There's a picture of her screaming on static and it looks even more like Nicole. Like, it's a terrible picture. Yeah, we love you, Nicole.
We absolutely love you, but you do look like this possessed girl. And that's something that you just need to know about yourself. But so this is Nicole, obviously a lot older, but yes.
I can see it.
Yep. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she's always staring down the barrel of the camera. And even within her eyes, you can just see that this is going to sound weird. She's not alone. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the actress playing that role is crushing it.
Crushing it. Good job, Nicole. Anyway, they do play like sections of their recording from their sessions, which is terrifying. But that was also the basis for a lot of Michelle Remembers, is that they would record their sessions and then they would write them down, and they would record for like 8 hours a day and crazy stuff. Anyway, they introduce her and he goes to talk to Lily and is like, nice to meet you. And she says, I know who you are. You're very handsome. It was sad when your wife died of cancer, but like, you'll get through it. And don't worry, you'll be very famous soon. Just very cryptic and creepy.
I mean, she's nailing it. She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But it is cryptic and creepy. Although she also might have heard that from her doctor who she came with.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that she's maybe involved in the growth, but maybe not. Also, super into Jack.
Yeah.
I don't remember if they outright say that him and the doctor are involved, but the entire time
the girl does.
Yeah, the entire time though, it does leave you feeling like the doctor and Jack are somehow romantic.
Yeah, the demon says it, but you can't trust a demon, right?
You can't trust. That's angel propaganda. Okay, hold on. That's heaven propaganda, and I will not stand for it.
It's clear that Paige only watches HPN or whatever. I don't know why the news network would be called Heaven Propaganda News.
Propaganda Network. They go to break and Dr. June pulls him aside and is like, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. Like the other day she went into a fugue state. She started talking about you. I'm a little worried. As that's happening, we cut to on the stage where they're re-upping her makeup. They're powdering her face. And she says, don't I already look pretty? But it's in Madeline's voice.
Yeah.
It's in Jack's wife's voice. And you're like, ooh,
yeah,
creepy. But Jack is like, it's going to be great. Don't even worry about it. She's like, no. I may have had lapses in judgment. I think my relationship with this girl is a little weird and maybe I wanted to be famous and whatever. And he's just like, no. This is your time. You've done the work. It's going to be great. Don't worry.
But she was pretty much just like, listen, she might have a lot of information about you and your ex-wife because we had a sleepover and I just told her about my crush on you. And so.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as this is happening, we find out that Christu is dead. He died on the way to Cedars-Sinai.
Yeah.
Hemorrhaged in the ambulance. And they're like, oh God, don't tell anybody. But as that's also happening, a producer comes by and is like, hey. Oh, and also especially not Gus. We will find out that Gus is very religious and very scared.
And has good reason to be. And Gus gets gaslit this whole time.
Poor Gus.
And I feel bad for Gus.
So much. But we reveal that there's a new bit in segment 5. We will find out what that is shortly. But while that's happening, Carmichael is talking to the mother and daughter that Christu talked to. He doesn't know that Christu's dead yet. But he's like, hey, tell me about what happened. And like, oh yeah, we talked to a lady in the lobby. She had a questionnaire. She asked us. So it's clear that he set that one up too.
Yeah.
But he's also dead. So we as the audience know two conflicting pieces of information. We know that Christu's faking it, but we also know that he's dead. So whatever happened to him was some serious shit, fake or not.
Yes.
Anyway, they come back to the show. It gets contentious almost immediately with Dr. June talking about Lily and what she has been doing as part of her therapy with Lily. Untested, not empirically proven therapy. And then Carmichael's like, yeah, I think you might be a con artist as well.
Well, and that's essentially what he's there to prove, right? Because in the production meeting about this show, they were like, let's bring on these people who claim they can talk to the dead or demons and then bring on Carmichael to debunk them if he can.
Yes.
But man, he interjects so much. It's just, he's such a fucking buzzkill.
Yeah, well, that's what the Amazing Randy was like. Yeah, he went after people. That's what the Warrens hated him. In fact, in the most recent Conjuring movie, the third one, another movie where they tried to claim Satanic Panic was real, but not nearly as good as this movie, they open on essentially a TV interview like this with them and the Amazing Randy, and he's just like hanging them out to dry. And Patrick Wilson's just like, I can't believe they always call him to be on the fucking TV. It's really funny. He loved to antagonize them historically.
Yeah.
But we find out that this little girl's inner voice that they think is maybe not Abraxas, but a demon that serves him, she calls him Mr. Wriggles.
Because he wriggles in her brain and wriggles right out.
Wriggles right out. But as she's talking about it, the theremin goes off and the sound waves break the glasses on the table.
Yeah.
It shakes the whole room. And Carmichael goes and unplugs it. And he's like, come on, guy. You're very suggestible. And he's like, that'll be useful information later.
Yeah.
But it was just feedback through the PA system.
Yeah.
So Jack is like, well, fine. If you don't believe it, let's have them show it in a controlled environment and then you can observe. So essentially he sandbags Dr. June, who didn't want to do any demonstration, but now he's already promised it. They're live. We go to commercial. So they prep the main stage where they've got chairs for them down towards the front. They're going to have their own little place. Lily is creepy as fuck. They keep cutting back to her just like sitting in the chair smiling.
I know, it's nuts. I mean, from the second she walks out on stage and says to Jack, "It's good to see you again, Jack," and you're like,
yes,
again, what is happening? You know?
Yes. Yeah, and they're getting the restraints for her from backstage.
Right.
And June is like, you're meddling with things you don't understand. This is going to be bad. And if it goes bad, I'm stopping it right now. Like, it's the second it goes bad.
Yeah, the second this goes bad, I'm going to slap a child.
Yes. And she's like, I know that Christu's dead. I know nobody else knows, but like, I know that something is happening. But they come back, they commence the demonstration, and essentially she hypnotizes her. She puts her into a susceptible trance state and then tries to talk to Mr. Wriggles. And of course, the chair moves and thuds. It levitates for a little bit.
I mean, you could see like her skin breaking apart on her cheek a little bit. Like, I mean, it's all practical, but it looks great.
It looks great. This is where she turns and her voice does change, and she does "It's good to see you again, Jack."
Yeah.
We go way, way back to the tall trees, which again calls back to the grove.
100% the grove.
And this is where she goes after Dr. June and is like, you know what happened to the last lady he was with? Because she died a real ugly death. And I know that you guys have been fucking. So like, what up? And so then June is trying to call her out of the trance in Latin, any number of ways. It's not working. So she slaps her.
Yeah.
And it seems like Lily is back, but it's a fake out because it's a surge of electricity. The chair floats. She eventually falls back down and she is exhausted. Like, it has taken it out of her.
Yeah.
And June is like, I am so sorry. I shouldn't have hit you. I shouldn't have put you in this position. I shouldn't be exploiting you on live television for this.
This is one of, I think, the like big metaphors of the movie that we talk about a few times throughout it. And it's like that exploiting people's trauma for like views is shitty and makes us all shitty.
Yeah.
And like, I sort of dug that about the movie on some level.
Yeah. But of course, Carmichael's like, party tricks. And they're like, we'll give you a chance to show it when we come back.
Yeah.
But we basically take a short break. And she's like, the tall trees, what's she mean by that? Like, what's happening? They cut her out of the restraints with the sacrificial dagger, which of course means we don't have any more restraints anymore. Too bad, because we could have used them later. Not for anything sexy.
Oh, you mean like in the movie?
Yes. I mean, because she gets possessed again later in the movie and is not restrained. And that's how everyone dies.
No, I know. I assumed that. Yeah. I thought she was possessed for the rest of the movie. Like,
I think so
in my
too.
mind, we never see the girl again, really. Like, it's always the demon from here on out.
Pretending.
In my mind, yeah. So, like, yeah.
Yeah. But we cut to the break and Gus has now found out, Gus is the sidekick, that Christy was dead and is like, what, we should have cut the show. What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck did I just witness? I need to get fucking out of here. And they're like, just finish the show, Gus. And if the actual devil shows up, you can leave. And he's like, I am not on board, but like, we've only got 10 minutes left or whatever. Let's finish it.
Yeah, we're about to close the show. Like, it's almost over. So he's just like, fine, whatever.
Yes.
And that producer's cigarette still hasn't gone out.
No.
He hasn't ashed it all show, but they come back and now Carmichael's like, all right, I'm about to show everyone what happened. And so he sets up chairs, he pulls Gus over, and he's like, I'm going to prove what just happened. And so he hypnotizes Gus, the cameras, everyone.
Yeah.
And we get a whole segment where Gus thinks he's full of worms. He's like ripping open his stomach and there's worms inside. A giant worm comes out of his head.
I hated this.
But
Love the scene.
then Carmichael snaps him out of it. And the practical effects are very 80s and great. I love them.
I thought the effects were great. It was also just gross.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like the worms in the neck, like, ugh. Like that's what got me the most in that shot. I just, ugh.
But he snaps him out of it. And he's like, see, this is what happened. Roll back the tape. You'll see what actually happened. And it's just him talking through it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hypnotized you. And at this point, Lily is like, well, if you believe that the cameras don't lie, roll back the tapes of when I was doing it. And we see that nothing was different. We do know that Cleo's going to get bumped, just like Lindsey Buckingham. But they go back through the footage, and this is where he stops, and he's like, go frame by frame.
Yeah,
and they
man.
see behind him is essentially the ghost of his wife standing behind him.
Yeah.
And when we cut back from it, we see electricity crackling over Lily's body.
Yo, this is
chaos.
Before that happens, the entire I don't know if this happened for you guys. The entire time he puts the sacrificial dagger between Jack.
Yes.
Jack puts it in between him and Lily.
Yes.
And the entire time I'm sitting there being like, she's about to grab that and just go ape shit on everybody.
I knew she was the one that was going to die from the beginning.
I was ready for her to like just in one swift move, just like take the knife and slit someone's throat real fast. The entire time I was waiting for this, and then when this happened, what you're about to say,
wasn't
babe,
ready for it.
I was just like, what the fuck?
That was 100% my reaction, and I was sitting on a plane next to someone I've never talked to in my life.
I'm there with my friend Kelly, and we both look at each other like, what is happening? Still great, but we didn't expect it.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't mad that it happened. I just had no idea that that's where this was going.
Yeah. Full poltergeist, electricity everywhere. Her head cleaves in twain. Gus runs over to be like, the power of Christ compels you. And she just like snaps his neck backwards. He's just insta dead. Then Dr. Julie is trying with her necklace. She uses that necklace to slit her throat.
That's crazy.
Which is nuts. Then we get to Carmichael, who is just like, oh shit, it's real.
It's all real. Fuck.
It's all real. I promise it's real. Here's the check.
And he like tries to convert immediately.
Here's the check. The check catches in flames, and then he Raiders of the Lost Arks.
It's almost like he's holding onto a chain link fence of the day the
Judgment Day happens.
Yeah, on Judgment Day. Yeah.
Jack tries to run away and leaves Lily on stage in front of the cameras, and everything goes to static. We see a face in the static. We see an interstitial that says station difficulties.
So can I say this before we move on after that?
Yes.
At the end of this, it was very tense, and I was like full on tense mode. And then when that face came into that static, I like jerked a little bit, and the guy next to me was like, what is happening? Anyway.
It's a great little Easter egg.
It scared me.
So we come back, and we're essentially with Jack living back through like other like times on the show, almost like a This Is Your Life Jack Delroy of all the like sketches they did on the show, but he's watching himself do it. It's a very like out of body experience. They're trying to spin a hypnosis wheel, and he's like, turn off your TV, stop watching this, turn it off. Things flash. He's at the Grove, but the Grove is also the TV set, because when he goes through...
Yeah, he walks off the TV set into the Grove.
Yeah.
Well, and he then signs the contract and walks from the Grove into, in theory, his wife's room, but his wife's room is decorated like the TV set.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's literally all on the same stage. Like they just reset.
He's walking around the stage. Yes.
Yeah.
And so she's got like the like multiple lines and all the decorations.
Yeah.
And she basically is like, I'm in pain. You know what you have to do. Please kill me. He kills her with the sacrificial dagger.
Yeah.
We cut back to what we would assume is real life, and he has stabbed Lily to death and screams. And then he tries to wake himself up out of the hypnosis with Dreamer here awake, at which point, now I have the question, how long has he been hypnotized?
Oh, I mean, I don't know, possibly for years, Paige. Like,
right?
Ever since he sacrificed his wife to get famous, what, 6 years ago or whatever?
If he did that, but yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
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 We hear sirens in the empty studio.
This is that shot where it's like, it's just him. He has everything he wants because he's the most famous man in the world at this point, but he's alone. Yeah.
And we cut, it says end transmission, but then on the same line it says, so it is done.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you guys think about Late Night with the Devil?
Oh, loved it.
Yeah, same.
Loved it.
Really enjoyed it. Didn't care for the EDM concert child, but
when's she gonna drop the beat?
Let the souls drop.
I honestly thought that was like the coolest part of the movie on some level, because I was not expecting it, and it looked great. Like especially for a low budget single location horror movie, like it looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tension building up to it was the thing that was getting me the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it did finally hit and like she started,
when that beat drops, you mean?
yeah. when that bass was just building up, it was great.
When her head splits in two, oof. Gotta watch out.
That was like a very what the fuck, but my eyes were not leaving that dagger on the table the entire time leading up to that moment.
Yes.
Well, and he brings it to the table when he cuts her out of the restraints, right? So it's always in play for the rest of the movie. So you know something's going to happen with it. Yeah.
The way he put it down and everything, I'm like, that's coming back. That's coming back for sure.
I think they do a great job of literally setting up 5 or 6 different things that all pay off really well throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's just really well researched, really well written. It doesn't bother me at all that they just like took real life shit and were like, what if it was real? Like, what if The Amazing Randy was wrong? The movie is like what this is. But I liked it. I thought it was great. It is scarier than I would care to watch normally, but like, I really did enjoy the movie. I love the aesthetic of the movie because I dig the 70s vibe, you know, but I'm into it.
I do think it's really interesting because we did it on Cult Podcast. But we did another movie called The Sacrament that borrows heavily from real life events.
Yeah.
And it does it the wrong way. And this movie does it the right way. Because this movie does create analogs. It is still a story. It's not the exact things that happen to the people.
Right.
And it's played in a separate universe and played in a way that is still sensitive to the victims of what happened. The Sacrament just literally steals what happens to Jonestown and did it worse. And so like it's what I really appreciated it. The research and everything that went into this movie, I was extremely impressed. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Well, Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do, although we burned a lot of them throughout the movie, but that's fine.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. Late night fun facts. Fuck you for getting it exact. I love it.
Ha ha
you
ha
nerd.
ha.
I love when that happens.
As we talked about multiple times, Carmichael Hague, the character, is based on James Randi, talented musician. Or magician, not musician.
Who knows? He might have been great.
He probably played it.
He might have been
both.
both.
A song or two.
But they even modeled his outfits after him and his facial hair.
I do believe he was like an out gay man and was very like flamboyant with it in the 70s. I believe.
I'm gonna double check you on that. Just in case.
No, yeah, please do. But like, I'm pretty sure they talk about it in the documentary.
The Amazing Randy's estate would like you to cease and desist with your slander.
Okay. Yes. So it's a lesser known item of his life, but it did come out in a documentary that he had a longtime partner, Jose Alvarez, with whom he was married in 2013 because he lived long enough to see gay marriage legalized.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Exactly. That documentary, they talk about that in I think it's called An Honest Liar, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it's called, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great doc. Yeah.
So David Dastmalchian was cast. He was basically one of the only people they considered, but part of the reason they cast him is because he is a super horror nerd and had actually written an article for Fangoria about horror, like regional horror TV show hosts, like your Elvira's, those kinds of things. And the directors of this movie read that article and were like, not only is this guy a great actor, like he's been in a ton of different stuff and he's amazing.
And he crushes this. And
he crushes this. The thing that I think is really interesting is almost every other time I've seen David Dastmalchian in another movie, he's always playing the spook. He has like an innate spookiness about him.
Yes, you're right.
And they really lean into it. And I think this movie, they just let him play the straight man and it was still great. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Great casting choice. I think they made a really great decision. Let's talk about Bohemian Grove for a second.
Yes, please.
So the Grove in this movie is inspired by Bohemian Grove, located at 20601 Bohemian Avenue in Monte Rio, California. The membership boasts several politicians, including 3 former presidents of the United States, industrialists, and other noted figures. One of the real Grove's followers was Ambrose Bierce, who is the author of several horror stories and a book called The Devil's Dictionary, which is kind of a skeptic's version. But the Grove's rituals, which have been described as falling between the occult and kitsch, there are varying reports. Some people say they're spooky. Other people say it's basically a frat for rich people. Regardless, it includes frequent images of owls, which is what is represented in this film as well. So regarding the movie being set in 1977, the film has to take place on a Monday night for sweeps week. So the stakes are high, and this is the beginning of the week that's going to make or break his career. And it just so happens that 1977 was the only year in the 70s where Halloween fell on a Monday night. So we thought 77, that's pretty much, you're right in the thick of it. So that worked.
You are, yeah. It's perfect.
The opening black and white sequences run for about 8 minutes, and that's inspired by a 1980s documentary called The Killing of America, which addresses a lot of the themes that they kind of go through in this movie as well.
Okay.
The later sequences in black and white are the on-set and off-air interludes so that you can tell when the show is on the air and when it's not. And I think that was a very useful device. Stephen King had nothing but nice things to say about this movie. He said, quote, "I got a screener. It's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't take my eyes off it. Your results may vary, as they say, but I urge you to watch it when you can." I agree.
Yeah.
They did film this on a closed set and on a studio.
Yeah.
In a studio. They shot it, most of photography, in 20 days.
Wow. Okay.
In one location that was a 360-degree set, which means your camera's in the center and your sets are around. And so they shot it like Saturday Night Live, a live TV show with 3 cameras running the whole time. They actually tried to get old vintage tube cameras, but it wouldn't have allowed them to do the post-production effects that they wanted to do. So they did shoot digitally and then edit the footage to make it look older, but they still ran cameras the entire time. They modeled a lot of the set after a very popular music program from 1974 called Countdown. So they kind of modeled it off that. And Countdown, I believe, was primarily Australia, not America, but a lot of 70s shows look the same around that time. But I think it really adds to kind of the look of it.
I know there's a BBC show called Countdown that's still running.
That's a different one.
Yeah.
That's still running. It's not that one.
Okay.
It's the equivalent of like the 70s equivalent of TRL is basically what this Countdown was.
Yeah.
As opposed to the amazing Tanetinba spelling game of British Countdown. Tanetinba. So Christu is named after 2 real-life psychics or mentalists. They combined the name Criswell, who was Charles Criswell King, who was really famous for having inaccurate predictions, and the amazing Kreskin, who was George Joseph Kresge, who had been performing mentalist for over 50 years. Both made several appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Christu also looks like they kind of styled him after Ravine, who was an Australian hypnotist who was popular in the 70s.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Very cool.
Interesting note, this is set in New York City, but it was shot in Melbourne, Australia.
I mean, yeah, you could shoot it anywhere you have a studio big enough to accommodate the set because they never go outside.
Yeah. To be honest, I think that will impact your budget, though. It's probably a lot cheaper to shoot in Australia.
Oh, no. I think it works perfectly. I really do like that it's sort of like a stage play.
Yes. In addition to James Randi, they also tried to add some touches to Carmichael Haig to make him look like Orson Welles.
I can see that after it gets thrown up on.
Yeah. After around the 70s, Orson Welles was on a ton of talk shows like this and was also a stage magician and had briefly performed as a psychic. And in an interview with David Frost, gave an in-depth interview about how cold reading works. And he, according to him, stopped performing as a psychic when he did a reading on a woman, and it turned out to be eerily accurate, even though he was making it up.
Yeah. Even a broken clock is going to be right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they have him say it, because he said, he's like, I don't think I'm psychic. I just think that even sometimes professional psychics can fool themselves into believing their own powers, and I didn't want to get to be one of those people, essentially.
Good for him.
Now, there is a fun budget note about what this movie made, but it is also likely edited because there's a 5% error. Like, you can be off, give or take, by 5% on recorded box office numbers. I don't want to spoil this. Todd, do you mind?
Do it.
Okay, so allegedly on Sunday, March 24th, 2024, This movie made $666,666, which again, if you've listened to Cult Podcast, we have debunked the 666 thing so many times. It's just numerology bullshit. But I think that they made good use of that 5% margin of error to have a fun fact about that.
What's the date on it?
Sunday, March 24th, 2024.
On that day, it made $660,375.
That's your 5% right there.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
But also, I don't care.
Yeah.
A press release is a press release.
Yep.
This movie was super low budget, and it's hard to like get people to talk about your movies. So like,
that's fair.
Why not lie about this?
Yeah, this is an easy thing to lie about.
Yeah.
When Dr. June is saying invocations in Latin, it translates to "get behind me, Satan." So that's what she's trying to say.
Get behind me, Satan.
Get behind me, Satan. The girl who played Lily, Ingrid Torelli, this was her first film.
Killed it.
And she killed it.
Wait, is she the girl?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, she does crush it. I assume she just did other stuff before this I hadn't seen.
Yep.
Wow, good for her.
Didn't even audition. She's just creepy in a place, and they're like, "You'll do."
You'll do. I'll end on this one. There are a ton of other fun facts. I highly recommend people read up on the movie if you're interested. But calling the entity Mr. Wriggles is a nod to The Exorcist from 1973 with Captain Howdy.
Okay.
So those are your fun facts.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Late Night with the Devil last year when they produced it?
This looks like about $2 million.
Okay. Jules, you got a guess?
If a Price is Right rules, I'd put $2 million just sounds right too, but I'll be 2.5 million maybe.
You guessed the wrong direction because it was. They actually don't have a definitive budget, but it says under $2 million.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it looks great for that price.
Which this was last year, so it's roughly $2 million if you adjust for inflation. Now, this movie did come out on the weekend of March 22nd, 2024.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 6th in the theaters the week it came out. It was beat by the number 1 movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The number 2 movie was Dune Part 2. The number 3 movie was Kung Fu Panda. Number 4 was Immaculate. Number 5 was Arthur the King. And then number 6 was Late Night with the Devil. What do you think it made in its opening weekend, the weekend of March 22nd this year?
People were talking about this and seeing it.
This movie got a lot of buzz in the community, I know for sure.
Yeah, and it had been at festivals prior to that. So I'm gonna say it made $2 million that opening weekend.
Okay.
I'll probably say in that realm, around 2 million. I'm gonna go the right direction this time and say maybe a little less than 2 million.
I hate to inform you that that was the guess in the wrong direction. It made it made 2.8 million in its opening weekend, which is over the budget. So like anytime a movie can beat its budget in its opening weekend, it's good news, right? It was in theaters for 10 weeks total. It was 6th in its first week, like I mentioned, and it was 8th in its second week, but was never again in the top 10. But what do you think it brought in the domestic box office?
Domestic box office, I'm going to guess this made like 12 million.
Okay. Jules, higher or lower?
God damn it. Neither. I'll say 12 million and $1. Well, I guess that is one direction.
Higher.
That is a direction. Yeah. I'll go neither, but I'll add 1.
And again, that's the wrong direction because it brought in domestically $9.9 million. But Paige and Jules, because you technically win.
Pretty close.
If you factor in worldwide, because it made another 2.2 international, and that puts it at $12.2 million, which is just above Paige's guess.
There you go.
So like, there you go. Ring the bell.
Ding, ding,
so,
ding.
I mean, on a roughly $2 million budget, it brought in 12.2, so it made money.
Yeah.
It's great. I get why people like this movie. I get why when it came out, people were like, you should do this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
It is great.
Anyway, that's your box office. So, Paige, do you want to hit us with the scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of how scared we were by the movie today. Our 1 being Ghostbusters, our 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or whatever scares you the most. Jules, where are you putting this?
I'm putting it like even because again, like I said, we did it for my podcast, and I think I gave it like an E, like about a 5, maybe a 6.5. because there was plenty of good tension moments, but there wasn't anything that was really like, man, I'm shitting bricks here.
Yeah.
I'd say around 6.5.
Okay. That's high on our scary scale, but I'll accept it. Todd.
Yeah, I was going to give it a 5.
Okay.
It is scary. I do think I could watch this again and get away with it because I know where it goes.
Sure.
And there aren't many jump scares, right? I just know now when to look away when he's pulling worms out of his neck and shit like that kind of stuff. And when she goes EDM skull, I can look away for that, practical effect.
I think because this movie was like so catered to my nerdery interests.
Yeah.
I didn't really get scared. I just enjoyed it the whole time.
It is
so
good,
like
man.
Enjoyability scale, it's a 10, but like I think I'll maybe give it a 2.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, I should clarify that when I said 6.5, that was on my show scale. So that would be more like a 3.5 for this show.
Sounds
Maybe
good.
just even
Sounds
3.
good.
Maybe even 3.
3.
Yeah.
3 sounds good.
And that's your scary scale. But Jules, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Can you tell our listeners where they can get more of the awesome stuff that you do?
Yeah, you guys can find me on all the social medias, Julian F Comedy. You guys can I also have a horror movie podcast. Paige has been on a couple of times. Todd, love to get you on.
Love to do it.
We'll figure. We'll all talk.
Text me. You now have my number.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Let's do it.
But yeah, the Horror Bin Pod on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Horror Bin Pod at Horror Bin Pod on all the social medias, mostly just Instagram. I have a special, Julian Fernandez 30 on YouTube. Check it out and come see me perform. And yeah.
Yay.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Again, thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed this movie. So I was excited that we were able to just be like, let's just do this one.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. So this week, you guys made us watch Late Night with the Devil. Paige, what are we watching next week?
It's finally on fucking Netflix. So Todd and I are going to watch Godzilla -1. Finally.
Literally, I was in my hotel at Palm Springs, which Paige was a suite.
I know. I saw your walkthrough.
It was like completely wasted on me because I was literally working from like 7:30 in the morning until like midnight every night. So I was only in my suite for like 6 hours and I was only sleeping there. But
yeah,
it was very nice. Either way, I saw this was on Netflix and I was like, we have to do this because we've been trying to do it forever. So it is Godzilla -1 for next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your homework. Check it out.
Yay. Do you have a review for us to read?
I do, in fact. Although, why don't I just start with a Spotify comment? Because that's the one I pulled up first, and I apologize. So this one is from our The Happening episode that came out most recently. And this one is from Aaron, and Aaron says, the way I yelled when they announced the next episode, by the way, that next episode is the one that came out last week, The Guest.
Yeah, we're a little ahead. Yes.
Yeah. And Aaron goes on to say, if Paige doesn't add Dan Stevens to the spit list, I might have to stop listening. Okay, not really, but he is beautiful. And Aaron...
He's gorgeous in that movie.
Aaron, I can even see he's a gorgeous man.
Oh, yeah, we talk about it a lot in that in that episode,
Dude's a himbo of caliber. That's all I'm saying.
Oof. Yes.
And talented. Like, that guy is a great actor. Very funny in Eurovision. Check it out. Anyway, let's also get into this 5-star review we got on Apple from Irangu, maybe is how you say it. If not, I apologize.
Sure.
They say, are you getting Billy Zane? Hang on.
No, I would love, hey, if we could. I'm pretty sure he's busy and expensive.
Hey.
Billy, if you want to come on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit us up.
Yeah, exactly. I can't fix the expensive part, but I can make him busier.
Yeah.
Either way, the review goes on to say, my heart broke when Mikey announced he was leaving. I love the three of you together. I found the podcast very late in the game, and I'm an old episode, specifically Poltergeist 2, where you discuss pushing Mikey out for Billy Zane. So like, ... let us know. And I am reading this like the person who wrote this review works for Billy Zane. And they're reaching out because Billy Zane would like to come on the podcast and is confused as to how we'll go about getting on.
Can he bring his own sponge?
Paige. That is one of my favorite reaction gifs of all time. Him and Demon Knight. I love that. So, Rangu, if that is how you say it, And Aaron, thank you so much for that Spotify comment and 5-star review. And if you want to have me read your 5-star comment or 5-star review, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys.
It's sweeps week, y'all.
It's sweeps week. Fuck, Paige, I forgot to tell you my story, nerds.